Okay, we now go on to Keith Phoa and rules and initial motivations of a superintelligence. Take it away, Keith.
Okay, so when this course just started, I was really interested in singularity, just because we can either all die or we can all do really well. So I picked this topic to see what's going on for the initial motivation so that we would have a positive singularity. So the technological singularity, as presented in this class, it's when there's an artificial intelligence whose intellect is greater than that of a human. So then this would cause technological advances, and hopefully it might be the last technological advancement that humans have to make. So I'm just going to quickly go through superintelligence, my definition for it, my definition that I'll be using for the rest of this presentation, and then I'll go through Asimov's 3 laws of robotics that he came up for his novel series in 1940. And then I'll quickly go through the ways of learning or creating a machine that can learn, or the types of learning. And I'll go through a few theories that is somewhat current. So superintelligence is an intellect that's able to outperform any human in any field. So this can be social interactions or scientific creativity or general knowledge. So using this definition, like scientific communities and institutions like universities would not count as a superintelligence. Although they would be better in certain fields, they aren't better in all the fields. So say scientific community will not be better than, say, a business student in the business field. Also, Deep Blue, so smart programs like Deep Blue, which is a program came up that IBM came up with in 1997, I believe, to play chess. It beat the world champ, I believe. And so it might be a good computer, but it's not a superintelligence, just because it's good at chess, but it might not be good at other things. Superintelligence will lead to more advanced superintelligence, just because they can change their own code, so they can improve upon themselves based on the environmental factors, and therefore lead to better structures of itself. This might lead to acceleration of technological processes, so it's said to be the superintelligence would be the last human technological advancement. And they might be potentially autonomous agents. So we think that technology as a whole is a tool in general anyways. But this superintelligence might not be a tool. It might be able to think for itself and plan its own actions. So it might be created for one purpose, say, I don't know, like building machines or building concrete blocks. But it'll still be able to create its own motivations and actions to create that concrete block in the most efficient way. So this slide, I think, is usually very misunderstood, or at least I was when I came into the course. Because when I came into the course, I thought that superintelligence would think like humans do. I know Osmar Zayan talked about superintelligence as, like, we won't be able to think about what the superintelligence would think. So I got to this point eventually. So their motives may not be human-like. So they may not want to liberate or try to escape from human control. They might choose a goal that would align with human survival, or they might not. On the other hand, they might not choose that goal. So it might choose to, say, make paper clips for the rest of its lifetime, and then use all the natural resources in the earth to create paper clips, and then we'll be screwed because we would have no more resources left. And their psyches may also not be human-like. So some ethicists think that we should let machines make the ethical or moral decisions just because they won't have the bias of, say, prejudices or emotions or desires. And also they'll be able to take information from, say, like all the interconnected online camera system or information gathering systems, so like iPods, phones, tablets, cars, all that stuff, and think of all the consequences related to a decision and then make the right decision. But they may also have their own set of errors and biases, because the superintelligence would be conscious in its own way, and it's autonomous, so it might come up with its own set of errors that we as humans might think would be, like, we wouldn't think of it as an issue ever. Okay, so quickly, Asimov's laws of robotics. So in 1940, Asimov, he's a writer. He came up with the first 3 laws of robotics, and as a literary device for his novels. So the first law said that a robot may not injure a human or through inaction allow a human to be harmed. Second law says the robot must obey the orders given by a human, and the third law says that the robot must protect its own existence unless it would violate one of the higher order laws. So yeah, he came up with a set of novels using these 3 laws to govern the robots in his novels. Unfortunately, he ran into quite a few issues. So there was a story where a robot has been serving a human for quite a while, but by obeying that human, it was asked to attack other humans outside of that single human. So Asimov saw a problem with that, and he came up with the 0th law, which came before the first law in terms of importance, and saying that a robot may not injure humanity or through inaction allow humanity to be harmed. And eventually he came up with an improvement to the 2nd and 3rd law. He came up with this when he thought about having a system of robots creating more robots in, say, a manufacturing industry. So he revised the 2nd law and the 3rd law to include a superordinate robot that would control lower levels of robots. So for the lower level robots to obey and protect this superordinate robot. And just to be safe for human safety, he created the procreation law that basically bound robots to, basically a robot may not be involved in the manufacturing, designing, or maintenance of robots unless the new robot's actions are also subject to the laws of robotics. And just to be safe, he set up the meta law, which overwrote every action that the robots would make. So the robots may not act unless its actions are subject to the laws of robotics. So this system, or this set of rules is, I think it reflects the main roles of humans, just that to say that we don't want to create robots or artificial intelligences that would wipe us out. We just want to survive, which is the basic rule for this creation of a superintelligence. But it is full of problems. I realize that, and a lot of other people have realized as well. Also, since Asimov wrote his novels based on the loopholes in these laws, so there's quite a few problems. So like, a robot may not knowingly harm a human, but you can get one robot to put poison in a cup and another robot to fill the cup with juice and another robot to bring that cup to someone else. That robot wouldn't know that it's harming a human. You can't. They wouldn't know, but it will still end up with harm to humans. And I think in the current world perspective, I guess, it's also irrelevant just because, not irrelevant, but it's not good, because right now we use drones and robots, I think, to like spy on people or to weaponize them to watch for wars and stuff. So how can it not injure a human if it's carrying a missile? Like, it's just not very good. Okay, so quickly, the 2 learning systems in an AI. You can use the top-down approach or the bottom-up approach. So the top-down approach is where you install principles for the intelligence to follow, and it would follow that based on the circumstances it's presented to it. So this is helpful in circumstances where only one type of principle is required. So say if you're doing cost-benefit analysis, then you would want a utilitarian perspective. Or say in medicine, you can use the four prima facie responsibilities, so beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, and autonomy. And it would be relevant in those circumstances. But if you use the same superintelligence or the same robot in a different situation, it would be kind of defunct. And the bottom-up approach is where you let the machine learn. So you give it examples. It doesn't have to be ethical examples, just whichever examples, with correct answers, and you let it learn, and those processes that it learns from would be used to guide its own actions. So this model, this way of learning would be better in the sense that it's more flexible, so it can probably react to multiple different kinds of situations. So the problems with these two, if you use only one approach instead of a combination of the both, is that there is no universal theory to address all the problems right now. You can't consider all the circumstances and consequences of a decision. And some decisions you can have multiple correct answers. It's not just a dichotomy where it's right or wrong. And most people wouldn't agree about one decision. So ultimately, the superintelligence would model its creator. So whatever the creator programs it to do, whether it's machine learning based on the perspectives of the creator or the top-down approach where he keys in everything he wants the robot to do. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to touch on some theories of AI regulation. So Bill Joy, he came up, well, he looks at AI regulation and he thinks we should have global restrictions and regulations. So he thinks that we just should not progress anymore in creating a superintelligence. So this is the super extreme total restriction view. And then, so a less extreme view was by Kurzweil, and he came up with the fine-grained relinquishment. And this is where the researcher would choose to forgo certain fields or research topics that would probably bring about the singularity. So the problem with these two theories of regulation is that who would it come to regulate these activities? So would we have, say, a global government, which I think is somewhat non-viable right now in terms of relations with everyone else? Would we have government organizations regulating all of this? But I mean, government groups are usually pretty slow. They don't have the capacity to monitor everyone's research and promptly and diligently stop research in certain fields. And I think if we only have certain governments doing it, then it's not effective because it's not worldwide, right? Okay, and then Bostrom, he accepts that a superintelligence or the singularity is currently inevitable. So he thinks that we should create the superintelligence as soon as possible with great care. So the example he gives is that if superintelligence came before, say, the advent of nanotechnology or advanced nanotechnology, then the superintelligence who supposedly would align with our interests would stop us from developing the nanotechnology for harmful means. So on the other hand, so the opposite of this view, or the other circumstance of this view, is that if advanced nanotechnology comes to us first, then we might develop it for weapons and like war and stuff like that. So then when the superintelligence does come, then we have to deal with the problems of weaponized nanotechnology and the superintelligence who can use that weaponized technology for something else. This is Bostrom's, which I think is pretty good too. And Yudkowsky came up with the friendly AI. So the ultimate super goal of this artificial intelligence would be friendliness. So no matter what it does, what kinds of circumstances it comes across, what kind of environment, what kind of situations the environment of this AI would be, it would always defer back to friendliness to humans. So this combines both the top-down and the bottom-up approaches. He wants it to combine both. And so top-down, you would give him a set of principles, or in this case, friendliness as the top goal. And bottom-up approach, in the sense that he wants this AI to learn human nature by interacting with humans, asking questions, watching humans, that kind of stuff. Also, I forgot to mention, friendliness in this case is the AI's tendency to select stimuli or agents that are safe and helpful to humans. So, yeah. And another thing he wanted was for the ethical perspective of this superintelligence would be reflective equilibrium. So that's basically ethical perspective that would reflect the social pressures at that time. So if it was in, say, the 1700s to the 1800s, then it would support slavery as well, even though we think right now slavery it's not good at all. But in that time, slavery was accepted in society, so the AI would follow that. And so the problems of this theory is that it's really complicated, and he wants us to come up with a program that can change its own code, but doesn't change the code for friendliness. So, I mean, we currently don't have a program that can change its own code, nor do we have a program that can change its own code, but ignore what we want it to have. So I think the whole theory hinges on this point. So if we can't create an AI that is robust to change, so that can change its own code but not the friendliness part, then this whole theory kind of falls apart because it just wouldn't work. And finally, I have the AI nanny. This is the theory that I like the most. I'll talk about it after. But Goertzel came up with the AI nanny, and its aim is to delay the singularity and create some breathing rooms for humans to figure out what they want in a superintelligence and put that in a superintelligence so that we would have a positive singularity. So how Goertzel described it is that it would have an intelligence above human intelligence, but not as far as Ludkowski's friendly AI. So he, as an analogy, I think he said it would be as far above humans as humans are above apes. Okay. This theory also accepts the inevitability of AI development. And, okay, before we get on. This AI would be interconnected to all the global surveillance systems. So this is a AI to regulate the advancements of technologies that would lead to the singularity. So it would be interconnected to the online and physical databases, surveillance systems, or any robot systems that humans would be using for, at the time of this AI nanny. It only uses a top-down approach, so there is very little chance that the AI would learn from its environment and revolt against humans. So it's given a set of goals, and it chooses its actions based on circumstance. Some of these goals include inhibition of modifying its pre-programmed code, so this is good. It's more certain than the friendly AIs, programming cognitive processes. It's also inhibited against creation of technology that would go against this, its goals, its set out goals. It would have a mandate to seek control after a certain number of years, so that's also good, so it won't take over the world. Also, this is only top-down, right? So it won't be changing its code based on environmental factors. And another goal included helping humans deal with human problems, so like poverty or diseases, that kind of stuff. So it still aligns with keeping humans in control, which I think is very important for a lot of people, and it also ensures the survival of humans. So yeah, I think this is the best theory right now, although it doesn't answer the question about what kind of motivations should we have for a superintelligence, because it just stalls the process right now. But yeah, so that's it.
So, over and over again, when we discuss these areas, we talk about how complicated everything is. And the reason that it's so complicated is the absence of one overarching theory or, conceptual framework that would make sense of everything. Don't you imagine that when machines become smarter than we are, that's the first thing that they'll do? Like in physics, there's the unified field theory, which was postulated by Albert Einstein as bringing all parts of physics together. Well, human beings have never succeeded in doing that, yet they keep talking about it. And so, machines we presume that these machines aren't going to be dumb, right?
Yeah.
So we can't really fool them. We can't all become vegans so they'll think that humans are good. That stuff is really lame. But what we can do, I think, is look at what the low-hanging fruit would look like to them. And, this idea of the unified field theory is going to look really attractive. Why couldn't they come up with one theory that would solve everything in physics? And then why stop there? Why not do the same thing for, human ethics and so on? So for them, these things will not be complex, not so heterogeneous as they are for us, because we don't get that big overarching bit. That's what they will presumably figure out.
Yeah, especially since they have access to all the internet material, so they can go through history, they can go through human understanding of emotions, drives,
Right?
that kind of stuff.
But I have one other real shocker for you, I think. Every time we talk about this, we talk about AI's learning, right? Now, in AI evolution or AI development, as they're moving up the ladder, being smarter and smarter, they need to learn. But when they attain some level of high sentience, they can automatically transfer all knowledge, all skills to other robots without any learning whatsoever. It can be instantaneous. It can be the fastest thing you can possibly imagine. And suddenly, robot learning won't matter because they're already there. Situations that for us require learning may not require learning at all. They already have these overarching theories, the knowledge base, everything. From the moment you turn that robot on, it's there. So training and learning, which are always important to us, may not be important for them later on. It's sort of like, the octopus, where it's very smart, but it has no mentor, there's no childhood, there's no parent octopus teaching the baby octopus. That doesn't happen. Whatever intellect is there to start with. And so I think robots will end up being just like that. And so we can talk to death how they will learn, but I'm not sure that they're going to have to learn at all, really.
So you're saying that since they have access to all the information already collected, I guess, they wouldn't have to learn to come up with...
Not only all the information, but all the means of coping with it, all the overarching theories of what you do, they would have that from the moment they're turned on, from previous robots that have dealt with this. And so just like you can make copies of software today, that's what it would be like to make a new robot that's as capable as the previous one. And so I think we just need to rethink this whole idea of the constant focusing on what they'll learn and how they will learn and how we will manage their learning, because learning may turn out at a certain point to be completely unimportant. They're sort of already there. Learning is a means of getting there, and they'll already be there.
I think that is partially assuming that you have previous robots that have learned from circumstance, right? Because if we're coming up with an original superintelligence that, say right now, we don't have robots that can learn or that can change its code. So I think right now learning is still relevant, but when the superintelligence comes out, we don't know what kind of technology would be there. So they might not need any information, but I think these theories are still relevant right now. Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to Corey. Thank you very, very much, Keith.